I'm Aaron Porras, and thank you for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, Jewish youths light up the darkness on Hanukkah. International leaders come together in the wake of President Trump's Jerusalem recognition, and an Israeli musician starts blinding his bandmates. Stay tuned for the latest news in Israel. The Hanukkah holiday has come to a close, but one group of Jewish youth activists have celebrated the Festival of Lights in a very special way this year. Members of the Bnei Akiva youth group have been leading menorah lighting ceremonies around the world at sites that were targeted by horrific terror attacks. One such activist lit the menorah outside the Christmas market in Germany, where this time last year, a terrorist drove his truck into the crowd, killing 12 people. An Israeli woman was one of the victims in that attack.
We want to light this candle in honor of those who are not with us, and those people that were wounded and injured in the terror attacks all over the world. We also want to light this candle and encourage us all, in particular the Jewish community of Germany. And sure, we're lighting this candle in behalf of all Bnei Akiva. We want to wish everybody happy Hanukkah and hopeful and peaceful year.
Another rep for the group in England lit candles outside the Manchester Arena, the place where a suicide bomber murdered 23 people during an Ariana Grande concert. Bnei Akiva has also led ceremonies in Houston to bring hope to a member's family who lost their home in Hurricane Harvey, and at the HaKarmel Kosher restaurant in Amsterdam. A few weeks ago, the restaurant had its windows smashed in by a Palestinian man hours after President Trump's now infamous Jerusalem speech. The movement has united under the hashtag #LightUpTheDarkness, and by the look of things, that's certainly what they've done, making this Hanukkah a very special one. All right, the United States has just vetoed a resolution at the United Nations Security Council which would have annulled President Trump's bombshell decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. But leaders from Turkey and Yemen are now bringing this resolution to the United Nations General Assembly, which means reps from all 193 member states will vote this Thursday on whether or not to reject Trump's speech.
Şimdi inşallah bu tasarıyı Birleşmiş Milletler Genel Kurulu'na taşıyacağız. Uluslararası toplumun genel kurulda adalet, hakkaniyet ve barıştan yana güçlü bir tavır sergileyeceğine inanıyorum.
Most of the world's leaders have been very clear in denouncing Trump's recognition of Jerusalem and his promise to relocate the American embassy accordingly. That's because most agree that the decision on Jerusalem should be left to Israel and the Palestinians to decide for themselves in peace talks. The resulting unrest has left many wondering if Trump's still unseen offer for a peace deal still has any legs. But both King Abdullah II of Jordan and French President Emmanuel Macron, despite their criticism of Trump's decision, say they're still eager to see a United States peace deal.
We have hope that there is a movement forward. We're in the process of waiting to hear what the plan is and where that takes us. So we all have to hope and pray that actually over the next two months our American colleagues will articulate the next phase of this challenge and hopefully to be able to build on that.
J'ai reçu le Premier ministre israélien. Je recevrai Mahmoud Abbas en effet cette semaine. Parce que c'est la volonté qui est la mienne de continuer à parler aux deux parties qui, seuls, trouveront le processus de paix. Et je pense que c'est une erreur d'envisager de faire ce processus de paix, dans quelque enceinte internationale que ce soit, malgré ces deux parties ou à leur place.
Pope Francis has actually just met with Jordan's king to discuss the situation surrounding Jerusalem as well. And the Pope voiced similar concerns against Trump's decision, warning the president not to endanger the holy city by disrupting the status quo. With the dust still settling, clearly all sides are waiting to see just how significant the aftermath will be. On a related note, Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas has just sent envoys to China and Russia in an effort to replace the United States as the arbiter of the peace process with Israel. Filling this void will be critical in moving the ball forward with any potential peace talks because there have been no direct talks between Israel and the Palestinians in years. But so far, Israel has never accepted involvement from any foreign nation except the United States. This argument will now take center stage at the United Nations General Assembly this Thursday, where the floor will vote on a resolution officially rejecting Trump's Jerusalem decision. This resolution had near unanimous support at the United Nations Security Council just days ago, until the United States vetoed it full stop. But there's no veto allowed at the General Assembly vote, where Palestinians expect the international community to massively back the resolution. Although this wouldn't create any legally binding changes to Trump's decision, it would be a potentially humiliating defeat for both the United States and Israel, as it would paint them both as quite isolated from the rest of the world. American Ambassador to the United States Nikki Haley has warned that Trump will be taking names of countries who vote against the president's decision this coming Thursday. Police investigators recently finished their 7th interrogation of Prime Minister Netanyahu as part of 2 graft probes alleging possible corruption. But during a candle-lighting ceremony to close out the Hanukkah holiday, Netanyahu announced to his crowd of supporters that if the police do end up recommending criminal indictments against him, quote, so what? Well, ILTV's Brett Allen Smith has more details on that story. Brett?
Thanks, Aaron. And honestly, this isn't really anything new. Now, other than Netanyahu being grilled by the fraud unit for a 7th time, we haven't heard of any breaks in either corruption scandal yet. And as for Netanyahu's so what defense, I mean, that's essentially the same attitude he's always taken. Now, something else he said is raising a kind of red flag here. During the speech, he compared his situation to that of President Rivlin, who also, for a time, faced a police probe for suspected corruption. But no charges were ever filed on that. The difference here, however, is that the police never actually recommended Rivlin be indicted. Actually, they advised closing those cases, whereas a police recommendation might very well be exactly what Netanyahu is up against in the near future here.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people have already pointed out that the Knesset recommendations bill, which would actually prohibit police from making such an indictment or recommending an indictment, is still fresh on everyone's mind.
Sure, and I mean, even though that bill has been amended so that it wouldn't apply to Netanyahu's investigations, after a lot of opposition, of course, it's still fueling protests all over the country, much like the ones we're seeing now every weekend in Tel Aviv. And another breaking game changer now is that Netanyahu's right-hand man, David Bitan, is stepping down as the coalition whip. Bitan is at the center of his own massive corruption scandal right now, and that police probe has clearly taken a toll on his career, which, trust me, is on Netanyahu's mind. I've got the rest of the details in my report.
All right.
Police say the Prime Minister's choice of words and his seemingly unmotivated timing is, quote, very strange, to say the least. That's because Netanyahu is currently at the center of 2 major corruption investigations, one alleging he and his wife accepted expensive gifts illicitly from billionaire friends, and the other implicating him in trading positive newspaper coverage in exchange for using the law to crush the publisher's rival. But Netanyahu has assured the crowd, in what has become his motto throughout these investigations, that despite police probes, there will be nothing because there is nothing. The Prime Minister also condemned the anti-corruption protests that have been ramping up in Tel Aviv, accusing the rallies of being instigated by the New Israel Fund, a nonprofit that's been praised by some for promoting religious, gender, and racial freedom in Israel, but condemned by others for funding organizations critical of the Jewish state, such as Breaking the Silence and B'Tselem. Many predict that police may be recommending criminal indictments against Netanyahu very shortly, but for now, all we can do is wait and see.
Today, if the Supreme Court rules a basic law as unconstitutional, then the Israeli Knesset has to either fix the law or create an entirely new one. Well, now Education Minister Naftali Bennett and Justice Minister Ayelet Shaked want to change this, and they've just revealed a draft bill that would give the Knesset the power to overcome high court rulings with a simple majority vote of 61 Knesset members. Now joining us in the studio with more is Simcha Rothman, a legal advisor for the Israel Movement for Governability and Democracy. Thank you so much for coming in.
Hi.
All right, so my first question is, why is this on the floor now? What prompted the drafting of this amendment?
I think we saw a lot in the last year, but I think for the last 20 years, right, the Supreme Court of Israel does not know the word judicial restraint, cancel Knesset laws, interferes in security issues, in all kinds. So the Supreme Court basically is out of control. And the Knesset members from all parties see that and try to bring on solutions. And I think this is one try by it's good that this that the Justice Minister and Naftali Bennett, the Education Minister, trying to fix the situation. So, okay, when you say that the Supreme Court is out of control, can you give me an example or two? Just because I feel like that's a statement that can be construed as an opinion, So yeah, of course it's an opinion, but if you take into account that the Supreme Court canceled Knesset laws about the illegal infiltrators 3 times in a row,
Meaning the Knesset 3 times in a row thought that the problem with the illegal infiltrators sitting in South Tel Aviv and in other places in Israel, it's a problem that needs to be addressed in a certain way. And the court, time and again, canceled the Knesset law saying it's unconstitutional based on very little in the law. There is no law or basic law giving the court any authority to do so, but the court did so anyway, 3 times in a row.
All right, so now is this actually going to pass in your opinion, and what would need to happen for that to pass, for this new draft to pass?
I think this new draft, I think the chances that it will pass definitely in the current wording of the draft, I think are low. I don't think it will pass. I think that the opposition from inside and from the outside to this will take it down. From the Likud, you can hear already Minister Yariv Levin saying it's not a good idea, it's bad draft, and also Kulanu in the coalition, from the coalition, and of course when you go to the opposition, everyone objects.
So what needs to be done to make it passable? Maybe up the minimum for the majority vote or something. What needs to happen?
I think that in order to make I don't think it's a good idea that this draft will pass. I think this is not the right solution to the problems that we are facing. But I think that to get to agreement on what is the right solution, I think all the coalition parties needs to think about it together. But I don't think this solution that the Knesset can overcome a ruling in a special majority and it's only for a limited time, I don't think it's solved the problem. The real problem, most of the problems we face in the last year of overactive activist court, will not be solved by this kind of legislation.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming in and shedding some light on that. Simcha Othman, thank you. Israel's Technion Institute for Technology has been on countless lists, naming it one of the most innovative universities in the world. Well, this incredible facility's now made yet another breakthrough. The Technion has opened up a campus in China, the first Israeli university to ever do so. 3,000 students in Shantou, China are expected to enroll in the Technion's first ever overseas campus in the coming years. This is the culmination of years of effort and a joint collaboration between the Haifa-based Technion, Chinese municipalities, and the Li Ka-shing Foundation, which donated $130 million to help bring this project to life. The new campus has 13 buildings, including 29 classrooms and 69 teaching and research labs, which will soon be used to incubate the next generation of scientists, engineers, and inventors. Chinese innovation has been ramping up recently on its own, parallel with the country's strengthening economy. Combine that with the Israeli innovation behind the Technion's massive successes, and who knows what kind of breakthroughs we can expect to see in the near future. All right, now when owning a small business, it's not always easy to secure the finances that one needs. Well, joining us now with a solution to that issue is Shlomi Turgeman, the CEO and co-founder of BTB Israel. Thank you so much for joining us here in the studio now. Okay, so what does BTB do exactly?
BTB is actually the biggest peer-to-peer platform in Israel. We connect between borrowers to lenders. Our borrowers can be only small, medium businesses, and our loans are up to 1 million shekels.
So what makes this company unique as compared to anywhere else that I would just get a business loan?
In the bank, actually, you can't really get a big business loan. It won't help you to grow up because Israeli banks, it's like a very central market. So they control the credit market, and there is a credit crunch in Israel. So small, medium businesses cannot raise monies from banks. They can only allow themselves like 500,000 shekels, and more than that, they have to supply collaterals for the bank. And the bank would give them no more than 60% from the collateral value if the bank would willing be to accept that collateral. So as people that grown up in houses that our parents were owners of small, medium businesses and entrepreneurs, we decided to establish such a company which would help to small, medium businesses to grow. And we supply loans without collaterals up to 1 million shekels, which is a huge amount from small, medium business to grow up.
Wow. Do you have interest rates on the loans, or it's just, without the collateral, are the interests the same? And why? Well, I guess you've answered that question first. I'll give you that.
So first, we don't take any collaterals. We take only guarantors, third-party guarantor. Wow. This is something that is very unique to our platform. We are the only platform in the world that is trusting such a guarantor.
Right.
No peer-to-peer platform uses that, and we give up to 1 million shekel for 5 to 8% a year. This is the interest rate, and this is a very low rate if it's not a bank loan.
Right.
And also the bank loans in Israel and also abroad are around 10% in such amounts for small medium businesses.
So okay, so my very last question is, what's the best way to get in touch with your company?
We have a website, BTB Israel, so you can get into our website and subscribe, and we will answer any question.
All right. Well, I hope everybody watching, if you have a small business, I hope you take Shlomi up on that offer and contact BTB for your.
It's also open
business.
for investors, and we supply around, in averagely 7% a year as a return.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Shlomi Tilgerman, founder of BTB. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, now here's an inspiring story for anyone who's been to Masada. You already know the breathtaking views and historical treasures waiting for you at the mountain summit, but 30 Israelis who are confined to wheelchairs were just brought to the top of Masada for the Hanukkah gift of a lifetime. The journey to the top of Masada isn't for the faint of heart. Travelers either need to trek the long hike up the treacherous Snake Trail or else brave the long cable car ride to the top. That's why this trip, which brought 30 wheelchair-bound Israelis to the incredible site, was a tricky one for the Yad Sarah and Mangishe Derech groups to coordinate. But from the look of these smiles, it was clearly all worth the effort.
זה בשבילי כמו נס חנוכה. עצם זה כמו לצאת מהבית, זה כמו בשבילי נס חנוכה. זו הרגשה מאוד טובה, הרגשה כיפית. כיף לבוא עם הטימוש וצורך. נותן פה הרבה חום ואהבה. ופשוט אין מילים על יד שרה. פשוט הם עושים עבודת קודש. ואני מאוד מאוד מעריך אותם.
After riding the cable car all the way to the top of the Masada fortress, the excited travelers explored the ancient ruins and even held a candle lighting ceremony to celebrate Hanukkah. This is surely a holiday none of them will ever forget.
ברוך אתה, אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשה ניסים לאבותינו, בימים ההם, בזמן הזה.
Joining us now in the studio is the Israeli art photographer Guy Geva, who is taking a whole new approach to landscape photography. Thank you so much for coming in. It's an honor to have you.
Hi.
All right, so you've called your project Out of Home and Out of Power. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, it's a project about trying to express a lack of power in nature, in me actually, and I did it with black and white shots of nature and landscape photography.
Yeah, I see you have like salt flats and the desert here. So are all these pictures shot in Israel?
Yes, mostly in the desert. And some in the north, like this one.
Wow. Now I see that your contrast and your levels, like the white balance and things like that, are really kind of bright and almost burnt out. Is that why? What kind of feeling are you trying to give to these images?
Nature in the last few years has a problem because of the forest are drier and there is less water in the river and springs, and I try to show that in this art, and it's a part of me, right. And I think that black and white transfer more feelings and emotions than color photographs.
Yeah, first of all, they're beautiful. I love these photos, and I think how big are they? Are they huge? Are they a nice, large kind of size when you see them up close?
Yes.
Do you use film or digital?
Digital. It's sadly a bit, but to work with films these days become very hard, and the digital media is easier to work with.
So when can we see the exhibit of your works?
It will be the opening night will be
It is the 1st of January.
Okay,
In a Efrat Gallery. It's in Gordon 21 Street in Tel Aviv. And welcome.
So the Frati Gallery in Gordon 21,
yes,
Tel Aviv?
Tel Aviv, yes.
On January 1st.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Guy Geva. It was a pleasure to meet you, and your works there are beautiful. Thank you.
Great.
All right. Now, an Israeli musician has just launched an incredible and inspiring new music project, and it's quickly taking the world by storm. The idea involves bringing a group of musicians together for an improvised jam session with one simple catch. Everyone, except for the conductor, wears a blindfold for the entire time. And absolutely no one knows what will happen next. Israeli drummer Dov Balu Rosen is the brains behind the musical experiment. Rosen was actually skyrocketing to fortune and fame a few years ago as a member of Israel's top indie band, the Angel Sea, until he suddenly left the group and chose to pursue more experimental musical projects instead, rather than playing the same old tunes. It looks like the Blind Orchestra is taking off all over the world, and for good reason. No performance is ever the same because musicians don't even know what song, rhythm, or key comes next. The orchestra itself is also always changing, mixing new local musicians into the lineup as the group tours from city to city. Musicians begin by putting on blindfolds, and they start playing only when the conductor touches them. And from there, it's up to them what to play and how to riff off what the rest of the group's already playing. If the conductor touches them a second time, they stop. And if they get tapped with conductor sticks, that's their cue to go into overdrive. Hopefully, our city is the next on the tour. All right, for those who aren't familiar with the 1976 Israeli hostage rescue crisis in Entebbe, Uganda, get ready because the story of Israel's Operation Thunderbolt is finally about to hit the big screen. ILTV's Emmanuel Kadosh is here with the details. Emmanuel, what is the scoop?
Hi, Aaron. Yes, well, Israel's Operation Thunderbolt back in 1976 is one of the most famous stories in the country's history. For those who aren't as familiar, the movie will depict the real-life hijacking of the Air France flight that left Tel Aviv heading to Paris, but ended up landing in Entebbe, Uganda, when terrorists hijacked the plane, taking 100 Israeli and Jewish passengers as hostage. I've got more details in my report, but first, here's a clip of the new movie trailer.
All right.
This is a hijack situation! No! We've got weapons and bombs. If you try anything, you will die.
We call upon revolutionary movements everywhere
to focus the attention of the world on the Palestinian people's struggle.
Welcome to Entebbe, Uganda.
There are 239 hostages at Entebbe. 83 are Israeli.
For over 100 passengers aboard that flight, that's how their nightmare began, when 4 terrorists hijacked their plane and forced a landing in Entebbe, Uganda. The terrorists actually released all non-Israelis aboard and took the Jewish and Israeli passengers as hostages, hoping to force the release of Palestinian prisoners. This new movie is directed by Brazilian action director Jose Padilha and stars Oscar-nominated actress Rosamund Pike and Daniel Bruhl as 2 of the hijackers. Well-known Israeli actor Lior Ashkenazi will portray Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, and Israeli actor Angel Bonani plays the leader of the IDF unit sent to free the hostages and return them to Israel. His name in real life was Yonatan Netanyahu. Yes, the older brother of current Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Focus Features just dropped a full trailer for the film, which is set to release in March. Definitely don't want to miss this one in theaters.
And now for our Hebrew word of the day, let's start off with a riddle. What do teenagers, tourists, and artists all have in common? Stumped? They all take a lot of photographs. And here in the tourist magnet of Tel Aviv, you see people photographing a lot. So today's word is tzilum, meaning photograph. Typically, tzilumim, or photos, are of happy occasions like vacations, birthdays, and parties. But then, of course, there's also the perfectly timed tzilum of someone or something doing something silly. And then even more occasionally, there's the blackmail tzilumim, or as we like to call them in the Porus household, a reason to get me a birthday present. What's in your tzilumim? All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight you can really start to feel that winter heat wave as temperatures will be at a minimum of 59 degrees or 15 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow you can expect temperatures to climb even higher to a high of nearly 80 degrees or 26 degrees Celsius. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.50 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv. I'm Aaron Porras, and thank you for watching.